How are we going on, people? Luke here from LAGFX. We're back today with another video. In today's video, what we're going to do is we're going to go over the Great British Pound to the US dollar and highlight some of the trades that we have placed over the past 2 weeks. So the first trade that we're going to go through is from the 17th of February, and then we're just going to move forward as we get to present day, which is obviously the 7th of March, which is when I'm recording this video. So there are a few positions that we're going to go over. I'm just going to highlight my reasonings behind why I placed the positions I did, why I placed my stop losses where I did, why I placed my take profits where I did, because the last 2 weeks worth of trades that we have placed have accumulated way over 100% in profits. Now, the reason why I want to highlight the past 2 weeks performance just specifically on this pair is because I want to kind of show off how well we've done and some of the trades that we've placed, and also really enlighten you all into how I actually trade and place my positions and prepare myself for the markets every single week. Now, if you do go on to enjoy the video, don't forget to leave it a thumbs up. All the support you guys provide is very much appreciated. And if you do have any questions or queries regarding the analysis that I go through today, the trades that I've placed, the profits I have made, then please leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Now, when I say that all of these trades could have accumulated way over 100% in equity returns, I'm talking doubling your account at least. Now, this is if you weren't to take any partials throughout the positions, and this is if you were to hold those positions from start to finish. So obviously I didn't walk away with way over 100% of my equity back, but I wasn't far off. This is because I took partials as part of safety measures, but I did hold the positions right the way through to the very end. So you'll see throughout the video some of the profits that I've made. But as I say, it's been a brilliant past 2 weeks within the team of LAGFX. I think we have some very happy clients. So the first trade I'm going to go over is this one here that we placed on the 17th of February, which was actually a Friday. So we placed this about midday. I think it was about just 1:45-ish. And what I'm going to do is give you the reasoning behind the actual trade itself. I'll also flag up the analysis that I provide to my clients as well as the potential entry, so you can see how I keep my VIP clients involved in the trade, and I help them distinguish what they need to do in order to manage the trade accordingly. I think it's very important that if you are placing positions, you understand why you are placing them and the right route to take when, as I say, managing the trade. So the reasoning behind this trade itself here was because price tapped into a higher time frame demand zone. So I knew from the offset that once price penetrated this zone, a lot of demand would be introduced into this market, which should, in theory, reverse the current trend that traded us into this, so the bearish trend, and should encourage a new bullish trend to take place. So what I did was waited for a break of structure to the upside. So if I just go down to the, let's see if we can see it on the 5-minute time frame. Just go down to the 5-minute time frame. You will see that there was the last structural high that was created. I have highlighted here. So this was the last structural high within this bearish structure that went on to set the lowest low that price had done. So with that being said, that was the last protected high. So what we wanted is we wanted for price to break this in order to confirm that this current bearish trend had finished and a new bullish trend was underway. What I saw whilst looking to place this trade was actually an unmitigated candle. Now, as you'll see, price came down to wick into this. There was a 1-minute candle here. Unfortunately, with me going back to the 17th of February, I don't think it will let me go down as low at that time frame. But if you're able to have a look for yourself, there was a 1-minute unmitigated candle here that needed clearing. So as soon as I saw price tap into this, reject to the upside and give us such a large wick, that told me that price was now respecting these demand zones, even fractally. So in my head, I thought, okay, might be slightly preemptive, but we'll go for it and we'll place our position. So I placed my position just after price pulled back again and started trading us higher. I placed my trade with my stop loss just below the low that was set here, as if we are following bullish structure, the lows are protected and the highs aren't. Price should be protected here from our stop loss being hit because this is a structural low. So I placed my stop loss just below this, and then I took my take profit all the way up to the previous structural swing high. Now, the reason why I set it just below the very top of this is because if we weren't to continue following bullishness and we were actually going to continue following bearishness, then realistically price should be able to come up to clear all of this in price before continuing traders lower. So that kind of guarantees that our take profit is more than achievable. Now, as you will see, this trade gave us a risk to reward return of a 1 to 8.47. So what I will have done and what I will do is throw up some befores, durings and afters of the analysis from this position itself. So as I say, you can see what I provide to my clients and the depth that I go into to help them understand why we're placing these positions. I'll also show some of the profits that I made from this trade as well. Very, very good position indeed. Now this trade ran for little over, I think it was 4 or 5 days. Obviously we had the weekend in between, so I think it was the 17th that we placed it, and we closed, it got closed around the 21st, yeah. So about 4 or 5 days, but only 2 or 3 days were actual, trading days, should we say. But that was the first position that was placed within this market, and that kind of set the tone for what we wanted to see and how we wanted to take full advantage of the swings that this market was putting in. Now, once we saw price continue bullish, I knew straight away that price was looking for an area of supply in order to reverse the market yet again and potentially go on to set a new structural low. So what I did is I looked within the entire impulsive wave that traded us lower to begin with. So you'll see this entire impulsive wave. I looked within this for any unmitigated last buy to sell regions. I managed to find one here, as you'll notice, and as you'll see, it just highlights this last buy to sell region, this last green candle. We had a load of inefficiency below, so we wanted to see price come and tap into this before trading us lower. So what we did is we sat and waited patiently. Price did exactly that. Price tapped in and penetrated this zone. Now what I did was, if I just go back and replay this, so you'll notice that there is another last buy to sell region. So once we were delivered with the break of structure, so we had the penetration, we were delivered with a break of structure to the downside, so that told me that this bullish correction has finished and a new bearish wave is going to take place. So I wanted to find an area that we could get involved with a refined entry. So what I did is I highlighted this last buy to sell region, and I wanted to see price trade into this, show good signs of rejection, and then we could obviously look to get involved in those sells because we've had confirmation of bearishness anyway. We now just want further confirmation and basically have the opportunity to get in on refined entries. So I waited for price to trail in. Price trailed in, showed great signs of rejection. To the downside, we had another break of structure here. As you can see, price traded us up. As price traded us up, I sold into this market, having my stop loss just above this zone here, just to give us leverage and room to breathe when it comes to actually, market sweeping these zones and areas. And then as you'll see, price continued trading as bearish. We were in good profits. Price did, however, come back up to sweep this zone. So it was good that we had our stop loss just a few pips above this, as I say, just to give our trade room to breathe, because the markets have a lovely way of manipulating traders and taking traders out of the game. So they will quite simply, take it right to the edge of these zones and areas that we highlight and we look at in order to take those people out. Now, obviously, we're smarter than that and we understand that this is what they do. So we accommodate to that and just increase our stop loss ever so slightly. Now, as you'll see, over the course of the following 3 or 4 days, price then decided to go on and trade us bearish and took profit for 178 pips. You'll see that we had the production of bearish structure, lower highs and lower lows. So this was a clear bearish swing. Now, throughout this position, I provided the clients with regular updates, as well as prompts to take partials, to move SL to entry, to trail stop losses, things like that. All the things you need to understand and you need to know in order to manage your trades correctly. So you'll see here that price kind of slowed and came to a halt. It was no longer following the laws of bearishness. We actually saw price pretty much consolidate, or as some people would call it, accumulate. And what this is doing is price is basically preparing to reverse and start trending in a different direction, and that's exactly what we saw. So as soon as we saw price accumulate, I knew that price was preparing itself to go on to put in that next corrective wave. So we wanted to take full advantage of that, as always. So when we saw price go on to set this low here, and then price to go on and surpass this previous structural high, I then knew that price was preparing and putting in that new bullishness. So we saw clear bullish structure being formed. As we can say this was a high, this was a low set, this was a higher high. What follows from a higher high is a higher low. We understood that, and then we took full advantage. So what I did is as I looked at the initial impulsive wave that broke the structure to the upside, which was this one here, for any unmitigated last sell to buy regions, as we are now looking for demand zones, I found one. I found a last sell to buy region here. I highlighted it. I waited for price to tap into this. Price tapped in. We saw great volume to the upside. As soon as price pulled back ever so slightly, that was my execution point, and that is where I entered. Now you'll notice again, my stop loss was set just a few pips below the zone that I highlighted originally, and that was just to avoid being swept out of the market, and because we understand that that is a safe place to put our stop loss with price following the laws of bullishness. As I said earlier, when we follow the laws of bullishness, we know that it creates higher highs and higher lows, so the lows are protected and the highs aren't. Now, as you'll see, price quickly took off with help of fundamental news, and we took profit for this position as well just after a few days. This trade itself took profit for 140 pips and gave us a risk to reward return of a 1 to 9. So if you're risking 1% of your equity per trade, you would have gained 8.5% from this position, 11.8% from this position, and 9.2% from this position. So we've got we've got about 29% just from these three trades. Now, if you were obviously risking 2%, then you're looking at double that. So rather than 29%, you're looking at nearly 60% from three positions that we have placed here, which is amazing. And this has all been done, and this has all been achieved over the course of, 7 or 8 days at this point. So now moving over to the fourth and fifth position of this market, you'll see that actually we placed two positions within the next impulsive wave that took us lower. So we took full advantage of every opportunity that we got. So you will see that we highlighted another supply zone, or the same supply zone that we originally highlighted. Price came back up to sweep this zone, grab any remaining supply to the upside, and start to trade price lower. So you'll notice that we were delivered with perfect confirmation of a reversal. So we were delivered with a head and shoulders pattern. As you can see, we have a shoulder followed by a head, followed by a shoulder, and then bearishness throughout. So this is a clear head and shoulders pattern. We've had the penetration of a clear supply zone, and then we've had good signs of bearishness. So this would have been a great opportunity for anyone looking at this market, and you could have taken full advantage of a trade there by having multiple pieces of confluence to obviously build that trade in the first place. Now, my entry for this trade actually came from the penetration of this zone. Price breaking structure to the downside. We could say that this was either a neckline for your head and shoulders, or it was the structural lows within this bullishness. So as soon as we saw price surpass these lows and start respecting the highs, that then told us that we were following bearish structure. So what did I do? I looked for a fractal supply zone within the initial impulsive wave that broke the structure. So I highlighted this last buy to sell region. Price came up to tap into this. As soon as I had rejection to the downside, I placed my position. My stop loss, as always, was placed just above the zone, a few pips above, just to avoid being swept out of the market. And then my take profit was set just above the higher time frame swing low. This is to guarantee that our take profit can be achieved. Now, as you'll see, price played out extremely well throughout. Price did, however, come back up to clear any remaining orders that were left within this last buy to sell region. Once price came to tap into that, we then started to see the deliverance of further bearishness. Now, this in itself is a distribution. Price is preparing to reverse. We are seeing price consolidate. So as soon as we saw that and we saw price start to break lower, breaking these lows here, that was my confirmation to say, okay, well, we can get involved again in this market. So I highlighted again another last buy to sell region within the initial impulsive wave that broke the structure. Price came back up and tapped into this. I executed my positions. Price came down to break the low, came back up to sweep this zone and this area in price, and then started to trade us lower. Now, as you'll see, price did end up taking profit within the same day for 112 pips. And this trade here gave us a risk to reward returns of a 1 to 14. Again, I will throw up befores, durings and afters of all the analysis that was provided to the clients to ensure that they understood why they were placing the trades they were placing. Again, with this position, this trade here offered us a risk to reward return of a 1 to 15, having a stop loss of 10 pips and a take profit of 157. Now you might be wondering, how are we able to achieve trades like this that have such tight stop losses and brilliant risk to reward returns? If I'm being completely honest with you, it is literally just a case of looking at the higher time frame structure, doing a full top-down analysis, distinguishing what your bias is for this market and following the current trend. Being able to understand where price is going to go before it reverses is extremely important. And because I had it mapped out and I knew exactly where price needed to go in order to trade in the opposite direction, this allowed us to obviously get involved at those key turning points. All I did then is when price approached these turning points and these specific zones and areas is I went down to the fractal structure. As soon as a break of structure presented itself to me on the fractal structure, so the lower time frame structure, I then executed my positions, putting my stop loss above or below structural points, as this acts as a protection barrier when placing these trades. And as you can see, price plays out exactly as we predict. So the last trade that I'm going to go over with you today is the one that you can see on screen now. This position was placed just this morning, and this was based on the penetration of this supply zone here. Now the great thing about this trade is this trade was provided to absolutely everyone who just follows LAGFX as a team. So if you watched our Sunday sessions video, you will see that I actually highlighted this zone for you all and I gave you this as a potential area to trade from. What I'll do is I'll throw up that clip now so you can see it for yourself. What I would want to see is for price to, as I said, penetrate this zone, show good signs of rejection, and actually break structure to the downside. Because as we know, a break of structure represents an end of one trend and the start of another. So if we are delivered with a break of structure in or around this zone, it will confirm to us that this corrective wave has finished and the next impulsive wave is ready to take place. So once we have been delivered with that confirmation, all we would do then is wait for some kind of pullback. Once we are delivered with a pullback, that gives us the ability to get involved in this market with a refined entry, and then obviously we can look to obviously execute those positions. So a break of structure may look like this. We have broken this protected low. We've had the production of a lower high. This suggests bearishness. We would then wait for price to pull back into a fractal supply zone, and then we would trade price lower. So obviously looking at that clip, you will see that I gave clear instructions to look to sell into this market based on a penetration and rejection, followed by a break of structure to the downside. As we can see, price penetrated this zone, delivered us great rejection, and took profit for what I was predicting price to do. Now, as always, we place our stop loss just above the zone that we highlight, again, giving us room to breathe, ensuring that we don't get swept out of the market, and our take profits are always set just above or below the previous structural highs or lows that we are following on the higher time frame structure. So you can see that we actually took profit for this trade at around 3 o'clock this afternoon, and this trade only ran for about, I think it was 8 hours. So we placed it at 7 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, so it only ran for 8 hours. So we took profit for nearly 12% in just under 8 hours. Okay, so that is going to conclude this week's video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. It may not have been as informative as most Learn to Trade videos are, but I wanted to just showcase and show off some of the trades that we have placed within the VIP chats. I'm very proud of the positions that we have placed, and the clients loved and have really enjoyed the past 2 weeks worth of trading. We have not had any losses, and we have made some brilliant returns from the positions we have placed. So I thought it was worth showing off and publishing on our YouTube channel. Now, the brilliant thing about videos like this is it shows how authentic we are, as we are literally showing you from start to finish how we are placing positions, you know, the content that we are providing our clients and the depth that we go into. I think it's great because, as I say, it shows how honest and transparent we are with our clients, and it also gives you a good idea on what to expect if you were to join us over in the VIP chats. Now, without blabbering on too much, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Remember, if you have done, leave it a like. If you have any feedback, any questions, any queries, leave them in the comments below. And if you aren't involved in the VIP chats and you're wanting to get involved, message me or James directly on Telegram and we'll get you all set up and sorted. Now, thank you guys for watching and we'll catch you all in the next one.